So get this right, on Sunday night, WWE put on a match where people fought through the corporate building. Started on the ground floor, worked their way up to the top, and then they had a ladder match at the top for a briefcase. It was incredible. I'm telling you that now because the amount of stuff that went down on this episode of Monday Night Raw, you might have forgotten by now. Brace yourself for babies and b-ball. This is Raw Graded. Becky Lynch starts the show, and emotional Becky Lynch tells us that she's going away for a while. This brings out Asuka, the winner of the Money in the Bank briefcase on Sunday night. She is livid. The briefcase is in the ring on a table at this point, and Becky Lynch says, you weren't fighting for the Money in the Bank briefcase. You were fighting for so much more. Becky opens the briefcase, and inside it is the Raw Women's Championship. And Becky reveals that Asuka is now the Raw Women's Champion. Asuka celebrates all around the Performance Center in true Asuka style. Becky Lynch says, go and be a warrior because I'm going to go and be a mother. That's right, Becky Lynch is pregnant. They hug in the ring. Becky takes her leave and Asuka celebrates as the new Raw Women's Champion. I'm giving this an A+. A beautiful moment of real life of Becky Lynch, who has carried the company, whether you love her or hate her, she's carried the company as an ambassador for WWE for well over a year now. Like she has led women's wrestling into a prominence, along with other people, obviously, but Becky Lynch is sort of the pillar of this division, has been strong. So Becky Lynch is now leaving to go and do something amazing in her real life. And you can't pick apart the minutiae of an announcement like that. Asuka winning the belt, or Asuka being awarded the belt, is absolutely the right call as well. Because if anybody took the fight to Becky Lynch during her title reign, it was Asuka. So this feels like the right person to give the belt to. So congratulations to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins on becoming parents. How exciting. What an exciting journey they're about to go on. And as for Asuka, whoa! Give me Asuka Baszler and give it me tomorrow. Thank you. In fact, give it me yesterday. That'd be great. Because you've got a nice feud there already to carry on with. Shayna Baszler, who had, in that Elimination Chamber, the only person that even gave her a fight in that Elimination Chamber back in February was Asuka. So you've got a match ready to go. Ready to go. Give it me in a bit, thank you. First match of the night, and it's Bobby Lashley versus Humberto Carrillo. No DQ rules after Bobby battered Humberto in that gauntlet match last week. This is Bobby assaulting Humberto, but Humberto, being quick like a cat, getting out of certain scrapes, hits a drop kick into a steel chair, into Bobby's face outside the ring. Bobby rallies from this. Fireman's carry throw into the turnbuckle post. Looked pretty grim. This kind of started to awaken a fire in Humberto Carrillo, who picks up a steel chair, just starts battering Lashley with the chair, throws Lashley into the ring, comes off the top, looking for what I believe to be a crossbody, but Bobby's like, nah mate, that ain't happening. Catches in midair into a full Nelson slam, not a full Nelson slam, just the submission hold. Locks in the full Nelson on Humberto and gets the win that way. Bobby Lashley, dominant victory over Humberto Carrillo. A very game Humberto Carrillo in this one. Giving this a B-. These two worked really well together. There was some great chemistry between Carrillo and Lashley in this circumstance. And it, as I said, it kind of gave us a new side, a more aggressive side of Carrillo. Viking Raiders have said they can do anything that the Street Profits can do. So the Street Profits have challenged Viking Raiders to a basketball game, thinking they don't know the rules of basketball, we will beat them easy. This is the plot of Space Jam. I'm just putting it out there. Viking Raiders talking about this afterwards, saying, Eric saying that, why couldn't they have challenged us to sword fighting or axe throwing? I'm wondering the same thing. And then Ivar makes the suggestion they should have challenged him to a karaoke contest, which Eric shuts down. See what you did there? Mentioning that weird carpool karaoke thing you did that time. We've got a basketball match later on between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. All right. Charlie Caruso interviews Asuka backstage, who's joined by Kairi Sane. They dance and celebrate and scream and shout together. It's wonderful. I go, ooh, Kairi versus Asuka, that'd be good. But then I remember we have our slow burn tag team dissension over a singles title on SmackDown already, so we've kind of got the quota filled. Talking of dissension, there is trouble in paradise with Vega's boys. Angel Garza and Austin Theory are shouting at one another backstage. Andrade's getting his licks in as well. Vega's keeping the peace. There's trouble in paradise. It's Garza versus Akira Tozawa now. All through this match, every time Garza's on offense, he is shouting abuse towards Austin Theory. Keeps on giving it the old, I can do this all day lines, and Theory's not happy about stealing his intellectual property. Garza wins with the wing clipper. A fairly dominant win for Garza. And after the match, Theory gets into the ring. Andrade gets into the ring. Vega gets in. They're all bickering back and forth. Drew McIntyre's music hits. Out comes the WWE champion. Just starts claymoring people. Just for the bants, gets in the face of Andrade, and it looks as if we're having an impromptu champion versus champion match right now. Before we get to that, whoa, Nelly, C+ for Tozawa versus Garza. There wasn't really much to this match. It was good, it was all right, but it wasn't much to it. The story was obviously Garza and Theory, which was a different element to it. My issue is, and I mentioned this last week, I'm sounding like a broken record. Why is Akira Tozawa just jobber fuel on Raw, yet on NXT he is like this passionate, competitive cruiserweight? Just get someone else to do that. It's fine. So anyway, it's Drew McIntyre and Andrade now, champion versus champion, a match that we haven't had for weeks. Drew is dominating Andrade through most of this. Andrade gets a tilt-a-whirl slam on the apron that looks beautiful and painful. Andrade tries to leave through the ring, obviously off to Little People's Court from off of the past. Drew McIntyre reaches through the ring to try and grab him, and Andrade pulls Drew's arm through, and therefore that becomes the target for the match for Andrade, who just wears down the arm of Drew, but Drew just keeps on coming back. Andrade goes for a poison Rana, but Drew McIntyre turns it into an Alabama slam. Should we start calling it an Alabama Air Slam? Because he's from Ayr, Scotland. Anyway, Claymore and a pin. Drew McIntyre beats the US champion once again. After the match, McIntyre gets on the mic. He says he enjoyed his hobby of battering Zelina Vega's boys. He then congratulates Seth on an amazing match on Sunday, and then he mentions the brand-to-brand invitation, and we find out here that King Corbin has challenged Drew McIntyre to a match on Raw next week, and Drew promises to have a Claymore fit for a king for next week. Giving this match a B-. We sort of rushed through it a little bit, but it was a good match. These two have good chemistry, but I feel like Vega's boys have just kind of become jobbers to the stars now. I feel like every week they're on Raw, they're just taking a clattering. And this may turn into something bigger, because obviously we had a bit of dissension, so obviously they're sick of losing all the time, presumably. But I don't know whether do you have Andrade constantly getting beaten up by the WWE champion? As the US champ, is it right to have your US champ constantly getting beaten up by the WWE champ? I don't know. MVP pumps up Lashley backstage. Not literally, metaphorically. MVP says, when is Lashley going to let Lashley out? He leaves him to marinate on that thought and goes to get ready for his match. He then bumps into Lana, and he says to Lana, when Lashley is ready for a way out, tell him to come find me. And Lana is just screaming like a banshee at the thought of this. Time for a moment of bliss. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross congratulating Becky Lynch on her announcement earlier on. They're interrupted by the IIconics. Billy Kay and Peyton Royce are back. Get in. They say they're not going to be upstaged by a Ginger Jr. And they say they're back and they want a shot at the tag team titles. Nikki and Alexa say, hey, you can't come out and trash Becky Lynch and expect a tag title shot. So the IIconics go, all right, just give us a match without the tag titles on the line. That's fine too. So we then get a match between the IIconics and Bliss and Cross after we come back from the break. This is Cross's match to start with. She gets worn down by the IIconics, manages to make the hot tag after a double hair mare to Alexa Bliss, who runs wild in the match. We see the ref get distracted and Billy Kay pops Alexa Bliss in the throat. This leads to a double face buster for the 1, 2, 3. And the IIconics just pinned the women's tag team champions. This is a C+ for me, with the exception of some of the lines from the IIconics. The Moment of Bliss stuff felt quite scripted. But the match itself was fine. I like the IIconics getting the win. It's a simple way to build to a title match. Just simple. Have the champs get pinned. And Billie Kay and Peyton Royce were a treasure in the women's tag team division. And here's to them becoming a treasure once again. Now they're back. Backstage, Rey Mysterio is alive! He's alive! It's fine. It turns out that King Corbin threw him and Aleister Black onto a secondary roof, which is why they are there tonight without a scratch on them. They're in competition later on against Seth Rollins and Murphy. We see Seth Rollins walk into shot and Seth looks disheveled, gone, 1,000-yard stare. He looks like he's just become a dad. And Rey Mysterio congratulates him on the news that Becky is expecting. Seth Rollins just doesn't react to this and walks off. Seth is comatose tonight. He is catatonic this evening. Should be an interesting match later on. 6-man tag team action now. It's Brendan Vink, Shane Thorne and MVP facing Ricochet, Cedric Alexander and R-Truth and or Pretty Ricky. So we find out just before this match that R-Truth has enlisted the help of his cousin for this next match, Pretty Ricky, who is R-Truth, crossing his eyes and putting some fake teeth in. You know what? We had random returns for Brother Love and John Laurinaitis during the Money in the Bank match. If we are doing obscure returns from a decade or so gone, why not Pretty Ricky as well, who was R-Truth's alter ego, like back in 2010? Why not? This match is basically, let's look at R-Truth put his funny teeth in. Oh, but by the way, there's some wrestling here as well. We see R-Truth get the hot tag after Cedric gets a beating, and he lights up on MVP. There's wild action everywhere. Ricochet gets a moonsault in, so Ricochet gets a little something in tonight. Moonsault off the top, wipes everybody out. R-Truth is in the ring. He's putting his teeth back in. Oh, look, I'm Pretty Ricky. MVP turns around, punches him, so his teeth fall out. As he hands the ref the false teeth. This is a weird match. As he hands the ref the false teeth, there's a scuffle. MVP gets hit with a lie detector. And 1, 2, 3, R-Truth pins MVP. Doesn't have long to celebrate because Bobby Lashley then comes down to the ring, spears R-Truth out of his boots. Him and MVP work over Truth before Lashley says, let's go and talk. So it looks as if we're getting a Lashley MVP unit on WWE TV. They did it in Impact years ago and it was brilliant, so I'm happy for them to do this again. This match itself was a C. It was fine. There wasn't much focus on wrestling. It was the focus on, look at R-Truth, he keeps putting his funny teeth in, and here is a partnership between Lashley and MVP. Everything else was just kind of everything else was just the accompanying dancers to the main event of R-Truth's Funny Teeth, the musical. We see Jinder Mahal backstage with Charlie Caruso. He says he is going to go on a hero's journey back to the top. Can't tell if this is face or heel or not. Feels very heel. Then we see AJ Styles sit down in a chair with popcorn to watch a preview of The Undertaker's docuseries The Last Ride. We watch it as well. And afterwards, AJ Styles stands up, throws the popcorn at the screen and walks off. He wasn't very happy with it, apparently. So I guess we're continuing the AJ Undertaker stuff. Fine with me. Charlie Caruso speaks to Shayna Baszler about Becky Lynch's announcement earlier on. Baszler says you have to be stupid to get knocked up while you're the champ. She says, oh, Becky Lynch is going to get fat. She wishes the kid luck because you see who the parents are. It just felt a bit like a jealous bully rather than like an angry challenger. That was the bit that kind of, all right, fair enough. I feel like Shayna Baszler's interview could have just simply been, oh, Becky's off to have a baby. Ha, good luck to the kid. Anyway, Asuka, we need a chat because I want that belt. That's what it needed to be. I'm nervous about them sort of making... I know Baszler is like a playground bully type, but you don't need to hit it on the head. I kind of like Baszler. I kind of the idea of Baszler just now going, all right, Becky's out the picture. She was an idiot anyway. Asuka, you've got what I need now. I'm coming for you. That should have been what it was. This just felt a bit like... She just felt jealous, which is a bit strange. Seth Rollins and Murphy face the Rooftop Boys, Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black. Not a scratch on them after falling from the roof to the secondary roof. Phew! Seth Rollins just looks gone in this. He just slowly walks out to the ring, slowly gets on the apron, and just doesn't react for the majority of this match. It's Murphy having great exchanges with Rey Mysterio and with Aleister Black. Murphy's working his socks off here as Rollins just stands on the apron, just staring. It's like 1,000 yards away. It is funny on the night we find out Seth's about to become a dad that this is what we get. I know it's a coincidence, but it just makes me chuckle. So Murphy's trying to get Rollins into the match, but he's not having it. Eventually, Rey Mysterio gets thrown into the corner near Rollins, and fighting out of the corner, he elbows Rollins in the gut, so Rollins hits the ground. Rey goes for a 619 near said corner. Rollins is back up, and he grabs Rey Mysterio's legs and just hoys Rey Mysterio to the ground, and the ref calls for a DQ. And the commentators go, rightly so. Okay, we'll touch on that in a bit. Rollins then works over Rey Mysterio, gouge in the eye, punch in the eye, and then he grabs Rey's head, pulls his mask up, and drives Rey's eye into the corner of the steel steps. And you just see blood on the steel steps. You see blood run down Rey's eye. Medical guys come out to check on Rey. He has to take his mask off. You just see blood pouring down the side of his face. And Rollins just walks off, just despondent. Whoa. B- for this. I thought this was... The match itself was good. Like the exchanges that Murphy had with Rey Mysterio and Black are typically brilliant. Murphy's been excellent lately. And the stuff with Seth's character, just this gone weird stare that he had. And then this monster that was just sort of tapped into existence. And the really gruesome beating on Rey Mysterio. It wasn't like hitting a guy with a chair. This felt really grim. I liked it. The DQ was a bit daft though. There's no need to DQ. That wasn't a DQ worthy thing. Could have just had a non-finish. It would have been fine. That irked me a bit, but everything else was fine. Rey's getting medical assistance backstage. Aleister Black is with him. Seth Rollins and Murphy come up, and Seth said, I don't know what happened out there. Seth seems a bit more back on planet Earth now, but Black is like, nah, mate, I'm not having it. Black attacks Murphy. Murphy and Black are brawling. There's just chaos everywhere, and you just see Seth Rollins just walking off into the distance, which was a nice little visual. Big fan of that. Let's play basketball. Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits. Viking Raiders don't know how to play basketball, so the Street Profits basically run rings around them. The whole thing is jokes about not knowing the rules, playing badly from the Viking Raiders, the Street Profits just outclassing them with moves and showing off and all this stuff. Viking Raiders get 2 points at the very end, celebrate like they've won, and then Street Profits go, no, you've seen the score sheet, it's 74-2. Like, we won the game. Some good sportsmanship at the end. They all hug and stuff like that. And then Viking Raiders say, you know, we went easy on you. And then it's revealed Eric and Ivar can play basketball. They suddenly start playing really well. And then say, anything you can do, we can do better. And the Street Profits are left looking a little bit nervous about facing Viking Raiders in a basketball match again. Giving the basketball show a C-. I can't drag this too much because there were lines in it that genuinely made me laugh. Like when Dawkins grabs the ball and goes, check, throws it to Ivar, and Ivar looks at it and goes, the ball's fine. Like stuff like that made me laugh. Eric and Ivar larking about on the basketball court made me laugh. I don't know what the thing is with the Viking Raiders anymore though. Like I kind of had the impression that they were sort of thawed out Nordic warriors. But then they were doing carpool karaoke and driving a vehicle and eating turkey legs and stuff. So now I don't know what they are. And then I thought, oh, it's funny because they don't know basketball, but then they do know basketball. I don't know. The bottom line is, I genuinely don't see the appeal of tuning into a wrestling program to watch two hairy men play crap basketball. Shayna Baszler takes on Natalya next. Natalya is disgusted with Shayna Baszler's comments about motherhood. And Shayna Baszler says that the Hart Dynasty dies with Natalya. This is some grapply typeness. It's a very close quarters match. Natalya gets a fair bit of offense in on Shayna Baszler, but it all comes down to Baszler countering the sharpshooter, looking to go for that arm breaker where she stamps on the elbow. Natalya rolls through that, gets a roll up, doesn't get it on the roll up, gets a knee in the face from Baszler. 1, 2, 3. Baszler pins Natalya. Afterwards, Natalya gets very angry in the ring. She's kicking the ropes, furious with herself for losing. This was a C for me. It was fine. Wasn't one of Baszler's strongest outings. It feels like we're reheating Natalya again. Okay. Why not? The almost murder king, King Corbin, is talking to Charlie Caruso. He says Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio are lucky that they landed on the now infamous secondary roof. And he says he took Drew McIntyre under his wing back in the day, and next week, when they face each other one-on-one, he's going to prove why he is the king. Drew McIntyre and King Corbin, your main event for Raw next week. Main event o'clock, and Charlie Caruso is in the ring. She's had a busy night, hasn't she? Edge comes out to the ring. Now, we've seen on the advertising for this that Edge is here tonight hunting the Viper. Edge says, I didn't clear any of that with anybody. I'm not here to hunt the Viper. I'm here to move on. Randy Orton then comes out and says to Edge, congratulations, you won, and then leaves. But stops on the ramp, comes back into the ring and says, I can't bite my tongue. Like, you won the match at WrestleMania, but you haven't wrestled in over a decade. And I want to challenge you to a straight wrestling match. And Randy Orton acknowledges that he can see doubt in the eyes of Edge. So challenges him to this wrestling match. Edge genuinely looks concerned by the offer, doesn't give an answer. Charlie Caruso presses him for one, but doesn't give one. Charlie Caruso ends by saying if it does happen, it will be the greatest match ever. It's quite a bit of hyperbole there. And we go off air with Edge not giving an answer to it, just looking very nervous about the prospect. This to me was an A. I love this last bit. What I loved about it was Edge and Randy Orton dialing back the stip, but somehow dialing up the stakes. That was what was cool about this. Like the idea of Edge competing in a straight wrestling match fills him with more fear than wrestling in a last man standing match, because it's been so long since he's had like a proper active in-ring match. So they built this nicely, and it could be a thing that goes down at Backlash. If Edge, of course, says yes, we will find out. But this was just promo masterclass from two greats on form at this point. I know Randy Orton sometimes has good days and bad days, but Orton and Edge together brings out the best in Orton every time. This was cool. Overall this week, Raw gets a B-. There was some compelling stories to move us along after Money in the Bank. Asuka becoming the Raw Women's Champion certainly opens a lot of doors. They've managed to make Edge and Orton 2 something that is both palatable and very intriguing. The basketball stuff, I could take or leave it. Don't need any basketball in my wrestling. What? What are you looking at me like that for? Me and Ross were brilliant. Love you, bye.